Hello and welcome to the topic What is democracy and why democracy? Chapter 1 from Political Science, Class 9. Democracy. The famous definition of democracy was given by Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of America. Democracy is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It is made by people, it is made of people, it is made for people. Democracy is derived from two words, demos and kratia, means rule or authority of the people. There is no place for king or queen. Democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. So, who are the rulers? Which officials are playing an important role in the decision making in a democracy? What kind of elections are called as a democratic elections? We shall focus on all these things. We will know what are the features of democracy. Who are the people who can elect the rulers? All those people who are above 18 years, adults, irrespective of caste, creed, region, religion, they all are the electing members. They are called as the electorate. They elect the members of the parliament who are called as the representatives. The decision making role of the representatives is they make the decisions not in favor of any minority or any majority, but they will see that the aims and aspirations of all the people are fulfilled. The role of the president is very, very important in a democracy. The president is the signatory authority who gives the approval for passing a bill. Article 60 of India's constitution upholds the greatest responsibility of the president, who sees that the constitutional principles are safeguarded. If any of the constitutional principles are violated, he will reject such a bill for reconsideration. But money bill, he gives approval for the first time itself. He is the signatory authority. Let us study now the case study of Pakistan. Compare India with some of these states and whether the democratic principles are violated or followed in these nations. Let us see. In Pakistan, General Pervez Musharraf led a military coup, a sudden removal of authority, a sudden overthrow of authority in October 1999. He overthrew the democratically elected government and declared himself as the chief executive, the chief ruler of the country. Later, he changed his designation from that elected representative, and he has converted himself to be the president, the highest position, in 2002. And a referendum was held. A referendum is a plebiscite wherein the question was given to the people to either accept or reject. And he made himself as the president for 5 years, extending the Pakistani media, the human rights organization, democratic activists, that the referendum was based on malpractices and fraud. He did not adopt democratic principles in making himself as the ruler of the country, but he violated the democratic principles with unlawful methods. He gave ultimate power to himself. According to this order, the president can dismiss the national assembly, and the president can dismiss the provincial assemblies also. The work of the civilian cabinet is supervised by a national security council. So these highest representatives, they are also checked, scrutinized, monitored by the security council. Pakistan had elected representatives, but they had very limited power. The final power was with General Pervez Musharraf. There are many reasons why Pakistan and General Pervez Musharraf should not be called as a democracy. In a democracy, the power is not snatched away in that way, and the people are not compelled to accept the leader as their ruler. Their representatives to the nation and the provincial assemblies, they are chosen, but their power is very, very limited. They are not at all the rulers. The ruler is Mr. Musharraf. Then what do we call a free and fair election? A free and fair election involves political freedom. There is no compulsion. The electorate or the list of voters, they go, they cast their vote in the ballot box without any fraud, without any malpractice, without any compulsion. They make a clear cut choice as to who is the ruler, who has given the political agenda, who will fulfill their aims and aspirations. They elect such a leader. Let us now study the case of China. China, we know, one of the biggest countries with regard to area and also ranks number one in population, but the density is not so very high as in case of India with regard to population. In China, elections are held after every 5 years for electing the country's parliament, called as Quangguo Renmin Daibyo Dahu in their language, the National People's Congress. The National People's Congress has the power to appoint the president of the country. It has nearly 3,000 members elected from all over all parts of China. Only those who are members of the Chinese Communist Party or eight small allies, the smaller parties which are joining with this, they are allowed to contest in the elections. No other opposition party was allowed to contest. Such a suppression is not called as a democracy. Let us now study about the case of Mexico. In Mexico, since independence in 1930, it holds elections after every 6 years to elect its president. The country has never been under a military or dictator's rule, but until 2000, every election was won by a party called PRI. It is actually reversed the Institutional Revolutionary Party. The PRI was known to use many dirty tricks to win the elections. All those who were employed in the government offices had to attend the party meetings. So they need to favor the party, and the teachers of the government schools, they were forcing the parents to cast their vote for the PRI. So people don't have absolute choice to use their freedom, but they are compelled, they are guided and forced by somebody else. Sometimes the polling booths were shifted in the last minute. They are unaware to cast, and the vote is casted by somebody else. The PRI spent large amount or sums of money in the campaign for its candidates. In an election which is free and fair, the amount is decided. One should not, the candidate who is contesting should not cross the limit. The architect of the constitution, Indian constitution, Dr. Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar, as he was called previously, Mr. Ambedkar, Dr. Ambedkar, has said one person, one vote, one value. Every person who is born in this country has the political freedom. One man, one vote is a slogan of universal manhood, suffrage. Suffrage, franchise, right to vote. All mean the same, irrespective of caste, creed, religion. We all get the right to vote in our country, in which all adult male citizens are allowed to vote, distinct of the slogan of universal suffrage, one person, one vote, which gives all adult citizens, not only males, females, every caste citizen has the right to vote. Let us now study about the case of Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, the identity of one man is equal to two women. They don't have the right to vote. Until 2015 in Saudi Arabia, women did not have the right to vote. In Estonia, its citizenship is ruled in such a way that people belonging to Russian minority, they find it very difficult to have their vote, right to vote, to cast their vote. So only people belonging to their ethnicity, Estonic ethnicity, their nativity, they have the right to vote. Let us now study about the case of Fiji. Fiji, the electoral system is such that those who are indigenous, native, born and brought up in Fiji, their right has more value than Indian Fijians. Means Indians who traveled to Fiji to work as plantation workers there, you can see in the circle, yes. So their right to vote has less value when compared to the people of native region. Democracy is based on the fundamental principle of political equality. So, one citizen's vote has more value and another citizen's vote has less value. It is not a democratic feature. So, we just studied about Estonia. In Estonia, people belonging to Russian minority, they find it very difficult to cast their vote. Estonia became a socialist republic in 1940 after the Soviet Union and Nazi government struck a secret deal to carve up the parts of Estonia into fascist and communist ideologies. Only when the concept of universal adult franchise or suffrage or right to vote is fulfilled, we call it as a democracy. Universal adult franchise, general suffrage or common suffrage, where a common man, he may be economically very poor, regardless of his wealth, regardless of his income, gender, social status, race, ethnicity, or cultural background, political stance or strata. He may be having political background or no, or a common man like you and me, one who has attained 18 years of age and above. They all have right to vote. There should not be any kind of restriction. In India, we have universal adult franchise. Man, women, any caste, any religion, any language, any creed, any ethnic background, any community, we all have right to vote. Democracy is based on the concept of rule of law. Rule of law says that the law is supreme, and all those who are elected to the government officers, they should follow the principle of law, have accountability, have stability, have equality, and everybody should have access or reachability to the justice, the highest court of law. When everybody is equal before the law, we call it as rule of law. No one shall be punished except for the breach or break of law. There shall not be any special privileges in favor of any one individual. If a person has done an offense, shall be punished according to a procedure which is laid down by the law. No absolutism, no random policies shall be followed to arrest or punish anybody according to the law. Let us now study the case of Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, during the elections of February 1980, Robert Mugabe and the ZANU Party, Zimbabwe African National Union Party, secured a landslide victory, defeating all other contestants. Prince Charles, as the representative of Britain, formally granted independence to the new nation of Zimbabwe at the ceremony held at Harare in April 1980. ZANU-PF Patriotic Front, Zimbabwe African National Union Patriotic Front, is a political organization which has been ruling party of Zimbabwe since 1980. When we say popular governments can be undemocratic and popular leaders can be autocratic, this is an apt and exact example of misuse of authority. Once coming to the power, one cannot declare that I shall be the president for lifetime, or I shall make the amendment to the constitution as I wish. I will make myself unaccountable or less accountable. Here, the leader has amended the constitution several times to increase his powers and make him less accountable. The opposition workers' parties were disrupted and they were harassed. Public protest and demonstrations against the government were declared illegal. There is no freedom of expression. There is a law that limited the right to criticize the president. If you dislike, you just have to remain silent. The media, television, and radio were also controlled by the government, and they cannot publish or telecast or broadcast anything which is against the government. That is not allowed. There were independent newspapers, but the government harassed those journalists who wrote against them. The government ignored some court judgments that went against, and they pressurized and they tortured such judges who passed such judgments. What are the 11 features of democracy in India? How do we compare India with so many other countries which make India distinct, which is called as the largest democracy in the world? With regard to its population, we stand second in the world, and by 2040 we'll be leading. That is what the estimate says. India has free and fair and frequent elections. Every 5 years, general elections are conducted in our country. There is representation of minority to the highest position. We had a Muslim sitting in the president post, Dr. Abdul Kalam, APJ Abdul Kalam. We have a woman sitting in the president post, Madam Pratibha Bharati. We have a Sikh minority citizen sitting in the president post, Gyani Zail Singh. There are n number of examples where India follows absolute democratic principles and we have not violated since independence. Rule within the constitutional law. The constitutional principles are safeguarded and there is no violation. There is absolute freedom of speech, expression, choice, and the federal rights, the division of authority between the center state and the local governments. The council is responsible. The elected representatives are responsible if they do not follow the constitutional principles or any kind of lag is there, they take the responsibility and step down. The right to education is one of the fundamental rights today. Everybody, universal primary education, every child below the age of 14 gets the right to education. Right to form association and union. Basically, for developmental purposes, everybody has this right. It is the same law which is applicable to all, and judiciary is separate, independent. It is not controlled by the legislature or executive. So, let us now summarize the summary definition of democracy. The rulers are elected by the people, they take all decisions. Decisions offer a choice to the people, and fair opportunity is given for the people to change the rules. There are so many amendments which are made to the constitution. The choice and opportunity is always available to the people on equal basis. Opportunity is given to all. Majority is not dominating over the minority. What are the arguments against democracy? Democracy is such a stable government which fulfills the needs, aspirations, aims of the people, but nothing is perfect. So let us find what are the arguments that make democracy not so very successful. Leaders keep changing in a democracy, they are not stable. It leads to instability. In a democracy, it is all about political competitions. It's a system of power play. Political parties keep competing with one another. They forget the developmental aspects and safeguard the moral duty of the people to fulfill their aspirations. They tend to forget that. So many people have to be consulted in a democracy, and then decision is reached. This definitely leads to delay in decision making. Elected leaders do not know the best interest of the people, because to reach out to every common man it is very difficult, and sometimes they land up in bad decisions. Democracy leads to corruption, and to fulfill those objectives, the funds of the people, they don't reach the targeted people. In between middlemen and people in the chair or authority, they swallow the funds. There is swindling of public funds. Ordinary people don't know what is good for them. They only depend on the leaders whom they have elected. But democracies are still successful. If you look at the world map from the beginning of the 20th century till 2022 today, we have seen transformation of monarchies and aristocracies into a democratic form of government. So democratic form of government is a better government because it is more accountable. The leaders have taken a responsibility. They promised that they will fulfill certain needs and aspirations of the people, and they remain accountable. Accountability is owing responsibility, taking responsibility of whatever actions we do. Democracy improves the quality of decision making. When one person takes a decision, it may not be right. When consultation is done, we reach to consensus and then make the final judgment. Democracy provides a method to deal with differences and conflicts amicably instead of going on a word of wars. Very amicably, very peacefully, agreements are attained. Democracy enhances the dignity of the citizen. Every individual has the rights, and that enhances the dignity. Democracy is definitely better than other forms of government because it allows us the freedom of right, that freedom of speech, expression, faith, belief, and worship. For all the above reasons, we see that for all the above reasons and causes, we see and we conclude that the broader meaning of democracy is that large number of people, that is physically impossible for them all cannot sit in the parliament and make decision. So we elect best people who are skilled, people who are capable, who have contributed for the development of the country. They make the laws. That is a true democracy. True democracy is when only the country, in all the people of the country, when you take into consideration, only when no one goes hungry to bed. That was the famous definition given by the great leaders. Not only Mahatma Gandhi, everybody believed that no one should go hungry to bed. So in a democracy, every citizen must be able to play equal role in decision making. For this, we have the public opinion, the media, print media, electronic media. We can give our expression in all these forms and we participate. Today, every citizen is equally important. Today, Twitter plays a very important role. The social media plays a very important role. The highest position, the prime minister reaches out to the common man, and common man can reach out to the president. There is a direct link between the two. This happens only in a democracy. This PowerPoint presentation was prepared by Viswajit Siddharth Bhosle and Priyanshu Samal of class 9B, my students, on the guidelines given by me. The boys were excellent in technology. Thank you so much, boys, and thank you everyone for listening.